I applied for active duty in the Navy, and I loved that. I loved it. When I started, I went aboard the ship. It was called the USS Wrangell. I was nervous as could be, and went up there, and they said, take Ensign O'Leary's bag to the navigator's room. I thought, I'm going to meet the navigator. So I went up, and I realized in about a half hour that I was going to be the navigator. And I thought, oh, this is a terrible mistake here. So I went on to prove that it was a terrible mistake. I had a very hard time. But anyway, by the time I left, a little over 2.5 years later, I was navigating 8 ships around the Mediterranean, and a guy who had said to me, his name was John Kelly, was an officer on the ship. He said, when I was first here, he said, I think this job might be too much. I said, it is. I was staying up night and day, and when I left the Navy, there was a big compliment. I got off in Izmir, Turkey, and he said, I think you're the finest navigator in the whole Navy. So the whole experience was great. I found myself on a ship going across the North Atlantic in February, the American chief, and I came back, and they said, you're going to go on the SS United States. And I was there for 5 years and crossed the ocean 250 times, and it had a lot to do with making me. It did. I became a commandant of midshipmen, and I loved working with the young men, which I'd never done before. And I've done a lot of things and been very fortunate, made money and lots of things. But people would ask me the happiest time, maybe it was right there when I was the commandant working with young men. I listened to their ideas, and I let them implement the ideas that I thought were good. And I was pretty creative with them, and I had them running between classes and singing on the football field, and no one had ever done anything like that there, and so it was wonderful. I made a calculation that I'd been pretty successful with this. I knew a lot of people, and so I thought, gee, I've studied a lot of business, I ought to try to put that to work. I knew a lot of people, and a lot of people knew me, and so I went out, made presentations to people to invest with me, and so I got about 28, 29 people, really prominent people, and with that put this company together. And it was all to do with ships, and bringing ships in and marketing them, and filling out of Norfolk, and then a little later it was out of other ports where the ships didn't normally go. We were doing pretty well. We were bringing ships not just into Norfolk, but into Baltimore, into Boston, into North Carolina. Along the way, I'd slipped over into travel a little bit because I knew so many people, so many companies, so we became a pretty big travel company. I think we had 35 offices in lots of places. And then the small ship business, we built them, and they were very successful. We kept building them. We were in Philadelphia. We were all over the place, Philadelphia, Chicago, the West Coast, Boston. I took a risk. You have to take some risk, but I was very careful about managing the risk, and while at the same time treating my investors really well and treating our employees really well. I had reasonable expectations and was willing to not try to make it all for myself, but to do what was good for the employees and my other stockholders. Yeah, I think I would tell them to enjoy themselves, but also to be deadly serious about studying and create in themselves a desire to succeed. Realizing the opportunities, really, that you have. I had a philosophy that I picked up at Webster Junior High School. We had a speaker that came there one day. He said, the secret to success is simply to do a little more than people expect you to, because most people are trying to do a little less.